Hello, namaste, and welcome to Tech Storytelling with Madan, where the stories come to life. I'm your host, Madan, and today I have been joined by one of the amazing guests, Mr. Dharma Atluri. In this episode today, we'll explore together the business orchestration with Agentic AI. So let's welcome Dharma. Dharma, namaste, and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Madan. It's nice to be on the show along with you. Thanks for having me.
All right, great. So a quick intro about yourself to the audience, and then we'll deep dive into our topic.
Sure. I've been with IBM for about 15 plus years now, and I'm currently leading the overall GenAI and Agentic AI initiatives from an overall SAP ecosystem point of view as the Global CTO for our SAP Managed Practice, supporting our customers on a regular basis globally, both from a legacy as well as
Mhm.
from a I would say, transformed SAP landscape point of view with microservices and all of the other improvements which SAP keeps adding in by infusing IBM technology on a consistent basis.
All right. All right. I have the first question,
Sure.
Dharma. So recently you have concluded SAP TechEd 2025, and the few key highlights I have picked up from your LinkedIn post. Yeah.
Mhm.
So 40 plus Julie agents by end of 2025, 2100 Julie skill set with a potential saving of 441 million in total, and total projected revenue 10 billion. I would
Mhm.
say I would congratulate, and overall I'd say it's a very bold, the vision. But at the same time, I would like to quote a mighty report that says that approximately 25, sorry, 95% of generative AI and agentic AI project failed to show a return on investment. And Gartner
Mm.
also says on the similar lines, 40% of agentic AI project will be abandoned by 2027. So my
Mhm.
question to you, how are you so confident about your bold vision? And what's the strategy to achieve this goal in the agentic AI era?
Sure. That's a very good question because, like you rightly said, all the analysts and a lot of these reports do indicate that a lot of these AI based projects or actions which are being triggered by different clients are going to have problems because of different reasons. I'll not go into the details of
Yeah.
what might go wrong, but I will maybe talk about the success
Mm.
stories of where this has been made a reality, right? For example, from our own IBM competency, where we've been doing it for our CIO office, for instance, I mean, this is an official documented recorded number where we already
Mhm.
have been able to save $4.5 billion dollars in the last 3 to 4 years. And I'm talking about
Wow.
a combination of AI, combination of how can we do orchestration, how are we going to be able to do optimization by defining the
Mhm.
new roles, and what sorts of value add can we bring by not just focusing on AI driven large enterprise solution, but being able to chunk it down
Mm.
into different domain specific solutions which can help get us those savings. And this is something which is being taken to our clients globally. We've been able to talk to them. So in line with that, right, when we say this is the amount of savings which we can achieve, it's about readiness to strategize it, being willing to accept the change in momentum, and being able to have an open mind in accepting the agentic AI or change in the way of working rather than trying to look for perfection. Because one of the things for sure, when you compare traditional AI solutions and when you compare it to a agentic AI based solutions or Gen AI based solutions, what we keep talking about across the platform, it's important to be ready to accept the change and move fast. If you keep looking for perfection of a solution, you're bound to fail because it's about how quickly do you test it, what do you see, fail fast, and succeed come. Right? That's the approach if you adopt. There is a very good chance of being able to get to that point of what that prediction talks about.
All right. This is great insight. This is great, and I would really congratulate about achieving this goal. All right. So I mean, I forgot to congratulate you. There are, I mean, double congratulations to you. The first congratulations for achieving and grant. I mean, getting the patent approval from the US government. And second, congratulations for launching your book in the Q1. So wish you all the best,
Thank you.
Dharma. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So little bit I touch upon the recent, the patent from the US. I saw your post and I was very happy about it. So I'll read
Mm-hmm.
it out because it's not easy to
Sure.
remember. System and methods to generate ChatOps-based business process orchestration flows using historical asynchronous multi-person conversation logs. Yeah, that's where you have got this patent. So if
Yeah.
I understood correctly, it's a multi-person chat mining that creates a visual presentation. I mean, how the people are interacting with each other and the task
Yeah.
using the analytics capability, and that's visualize your overall task and the dependency, and then you can figure it out the efficiency. I'm not expert, but
Mm-hmm.
my question to you is,
Mm.
I mean, I have seen multiple tools in the industry. One is the task mining, and another one is the process mining. That is the Celonis, and in fact, SAP
Mm-hmm.
also has the scenario,
Scenario.
right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So my question to you is about the differentiation and the, I mean, differentiator. What the single most business value this chatops based process will deliver that other tools are not delivering as of today?
Yeah, no, that's a very good question. Thank you for asking that. So let me give you an example, right? I mean, we are so used to ChatOps based solutions where either be Copilot or you talk about like I mean every customer almost has their own MS Teams based ChatOps solution or chatbot solution where users keep exchanging messages back and forth, right? I mean, you have, let's say, support team
Mhm.
member trying to talk to another SME, or you have users trying to talk to the SMEs. And a lot of these times, while the information is exchanged to say what is it that they want, people are pretty much stuck with static screens. And what I mean by that is, let's assume a user comes in and asks you for provisioning an automated, let's assume a cluster, right? Kubernetes
Yeah.
cluster in terms of the backend system. Now, you know for sure there are certain set of selective information points which they would need to give you to be able to give that as an input to run the automation, right? Because what is the size, what are the number of clusters, what kind of HA and backend
Yeah.
solution do you want to deploy, what kind of software do you want, how many outlets, endpoints, and etc.,
Yeah.
right? Now, imagine where in a ideal world all as a user I'm saying is I have a requirement for you to provision a Kubernetes cluster for an application X, which could be,
Mhm.
let's assume, a non-SAP or J2E or some kind of a solution, or if it is SAP, because we know it cannot be a cluster at this point, let's assume a VM to be provisioned and configured. Now, the moment that conversation starts from the business, instead of asking them a fixed set of questions with the SME having to figure out what to ask, it automatically contextualizes it based on the requirement, based on the type of system, based on which scenario it is trying to handle, and create the UI on the fly, prompting the user to fill it up right then and there, and triggering of the orchestration from a process point of view, right? Which means that I don't have to maintain multiple complex if then else, do this, do that. Oh, you have not filled in this. Can I ask you for this information? One is adaptive, the other is custom built UI, automatically
Mhm.
generating and adapting to the business requirement and fully contextualizing it based on the backend automation script technology which the clients will be using, either Ansible or Terraform, or let's say, for example, you have some of the RPA use cases of execution. So it's all about how do we contextualize it, how do we adapt to new requirements, not having to have a static way of working on things with, right? That's one of the key components of what this system and method of what we've been able to deliver, right, from a patent point of view, provides an innovation, because that's something which doesn't exist in the market today. And we have been doing MVPs from IBM technology and software point of view, as a matter of fact, and some of it has already been embedded as an MVP. And pretty soon we will be coming out with a product which can help that extend it into a further market-based solutions as well.
This is super exciting, and in fact, definitely. it should give a lot of business value back to your customers, customers of customers, because I know IBM is into the platform engineering. If it's not very confidential, I mean, I have seen on your LinkedIn that you are delivering and doing some couple of MVPs with your
Mm-hmm.
customer. Can you
Mm-hmm.
little bit talk about one of the significant business use case, maybe your MVP that can help us to connect with your core product?
Sure. So one of the examples is a user trying to ask for a SAP-based system to be orchestrated. Now
Mhm.
we have a platform built in where, as part of it, as soon as the requirement is given, it quickly prompts out the required selection criteria, generates the UI on the fly, fills it in, brings in the vector embeddings from an AI point of view on the user query and the requirements provided, generates the backend YAML file and feeds it back from an automation orchestration point of view by having this dynamic prompts. So this is something which we've already started putting into action for one of our clients today.
So this is wonderful. I think this is wonderful. Okay, so taking this journey ahead, I was talking about, I mean, your book. So I think
Mm-hmm.
your book is going to be launched in the
In
Q1
Q1. Yep. Yeah, that's
26,
correct.
right?
Yes. Yes.
And the book, the title that struck me, the application of GenAI and Agentic AI in the world of consumer product and how it impacts supply chain management. And this is one
Yeah.
of the debate on the CXO's table. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
can you little bit, I mean, of course, it's not promotional, but just
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
make our audience aware that can you little bit give a highlights of this book? Who
Sure.
are your co-authors? What's the objective of this book? And how do
Sure.
you think, I mean, it will really give the value to the audience who will read the book?
Sure. So I've been actually working very closely with one of my, I would say, peers, as well as one of my very good friends, Dr. Gaurav Kumar Arora. He is one of my co-authors who, along with me, are going to be working and getting this book. It's almost ready, and we will be kind of putting it out for review and everything by Q1, and mostly by Feb, March, it will be out in the market. But unlike typical use cases which everyone talks about in the market today of saying, hey, have you done this agentic AI use case? I can do this use case scenario of GenAI and all that. It's more driven end to end of providing strategic, technology based, and operational insights related to how do you truly navigate AI based functionality for the future of consumer goods so that you exactly know the clarity of what is involved, what is not. And it is not just technology alone. Technology is an enabler, but it is more business focused to bring that value of what are the market trends, how is consumer products and fast moving consumer products getting impacted, mainly from a product innovation to supply chain efficiency. Because especially when you talk about consumer packaged goods or fast moving
Mhm.
consumer goods, one of the key aspects is how is this going to be impacted from a scale, distribution, and brand trust point of view. An example
Mhm.
being is, while I can have all I can talk about AI from a IT point of it, but what about the customer facing use cases? For example, how can I be so dynamic that I can adjust to the era of shifting consumer expectations almost every other week, for that matter, if not every other day? Similarly, on digital commerce, and mainly with the tariffs and mainly with the disruptions happening from a trading point of view, what would it mean from a global disruption and how AI can fit that bill to bring in the
Mhm.
actual, let's say, how we can rewrite the rules when it comes to product development, right? And when I said product development, the whole branding, the actual product design itself, the life cycle of the product which customers have, the supply chain management, and mainly around the consumer engagement. So these are the kind of scenarios and details what we will be covering, both myself and Gaurav, as part of this book
Mhm.
which we are working on.
So, I mean, I represent, of course, the project management as well as product management community.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so, who are your target audience? I mean, who should read all this book?
Yeah. So the target audience, what we are working towards is a multitude, right? We are starting
Mhm.
with all the senior leaders, especially the CXOs and the
Okay.
digital transformation executives who wants to understand how their business should transform in this new era. Because if you think about it, every other day there is a new agentic AI solution, right? You every day there is
Yeah.
a new concept, but how do you really contain that? How do you strategize it? right?
Mm.
How do you truly bring in knowledge to professionals who are working in supply chain, marketing, manufacturing, retail, and product innovation areas, and help them to become technology strategists so that they are not just doing the individual functional activity what they need to do at the floor, but also become strategists to say, okay, in their area for their persona, how do they adopt AI, what do they even get to know of, how can they become aware of what kind of functionality can be available to them from an art of possible point of view, right?
Okay.
And in addition to these personas, you can also expect researchers or MBA students or even academy faculty for that matter to be able to embed this with industry use cases into their day-to-day interactions as such.
Perfect. This absolutely makes sense because ultimately targeting the right audiences will help us to campaign and maybe market.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to launch a webinar along with your co-author once
Sure.
your book will be out. I can
Yeah.
buy and then we can flash and then we
Oh,
can
I
have
mean,
it.
I'm
I'd love
happy
to do
to
that.
give you a copy to get some review because it's always good to get some positive
Yeah,
reviews on what your
will do.
feedback is. Whether it is positive or negative, that's a different story. But we are
Yeah,
happy to give you a copy, get your feedback, get to hear to say,
sure.
reader, what does it translate to, right? Is it giving you the right messaging? So we are happy to get that feedback.
We'll do a webinar once your book will
Sure,
be out.
sure.
But you know what struck me? I mean, when I was into a large digital transformation assignment, one of the top leader, there were three pillars, and one of the pillar was simplification. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And trust me, simplification, growth, and there was another pillar I'm just forgetting. The
Mm-hmm.
most challenging and the most difficult part was the simplification.
Yeah.
How can you simplify your overall automation, your digital transformation strategy, your overall legacy and other systems?
Mm-hmm.
So I have seen, I think you are covering the simplification part of your book.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So my request to you, please give your insight, whether you take the
Sure.
reference from the book or maybe you take from your experience, your SAP, or maybe what is the role of simplification into overall this agentic AI or digital transformation, and why the business leaders today must focus on simplification, and of course, apart from other pillars.
Yeah. I think that's a very important aspect, right? Because remember, I mean, while we talk about this complex AI coming into play and saying that it is about eliminating, simplifying, and automating, right? If you think about it, it's
Yeah.
always about eliminating the workload which shouldn't be there to begin with. There should not be a reason of even trying to say, hey, I will apply an AI when you can actually eliminate it to begin with, right? From a root cause point of view. If you cannot eliminate it, simplify it enough so that you have the right automation built in, you have the right documentation, you have the right knowledge base, which can actually help you get the insights from it. Because a lot of people just talk about AI, but we all know, right? I mean, without the right IA, there is no AI, right? And what I mean by that is if you don't have a right information architecture built in from a data point of view and the flywheel effect, you'll not be able to get to the right AI part of it. And AI only becomes a after the fact scenario trying to adjust with whatever you have. Whereas if you simplify what you have, if you cut down on the overall complexity, and if you make it standard enough or competitive enough in terms of agility, implementing AI becomes a lot more easier and effective on top of it.
This makes sense. I mean, this absolutely makes sense. So, do you suggest? I mean, there are two terminology into the industry, and people
Mhm.
are rushing. One is the innovation, where
Yeah.
industry is heading, and one is the reinventor that Accenture is actually, driving it. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, what do you suggest? Innovation or reinvention into overall agentic AI space?
It's a complete balance, right? It's never about one or the other. You can always talk about reinvention, but the fact remains that if you don't drive innovation from ground up in some of the use cases, you're always going to take what you have and keep optimizing it, trying to beat the same band on top of it to figure out what's going to be different about it, right? You cannot expect a different
Hmm.
answer just because you keep applying more technology and more reinvention on top of it. Yes, it is important, but at the same time, reinventing is different, right? Reinnovation, reinventing, and innovation itself. And what I mean by re-innovation or reinventing is you look at the same process, you apply levers like Signavio or Celonis.
Yeah.
You try to identify the process of what are your repetitive scenarios? How can you actually make it more competitive? And then you build on it in terms of an AI solution so that it can completely be taken away, and you can always have human in the loop to augment them, but not having dependence on humans to perform some of these activities. That should be the
All
first
right.
approach, right? I mean, today's world, if you talk about autonomous AI or if you talk about autonomous
Yeah.
applications, it's all about humanless integration of the solutions, with humans more governing and bringing in the ethics and responsible part of it, rather than humans trying to perform the AI activities by themselves, running it manually one after the other.
This is great. This is great. So now my next question with respect to the talent, the skill gap, and the people who are struggling to keep themselves ahead of the ahead of the skill curve or etc. But I'll pick it a few keywords that you have quoted on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
One keyword you said business strategist.
Yeah.
Other keyword you said technology strategist. The other few keywords you have quoted here: governance,
Mm-hmm.
ethics, and then maybe few other keywords. So
Yeah.
now my question, and where look here in India, one of the biggest community, of course, they are digital transformation strategists as well, but they come from project manager, product manager, maybe business analyst community, and they are into mid of their career, 15, 20 years of experience. So and that is their real struggle, how to
Mm-hmm.
kickstart my journey.
Mm-hmm.
And content is not the challenge for them, because nowadays even in 500 rupees you can find a content in YouTube, you can get started. But
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
problem is, Dharma, is the positioning,
Mm-hmm.
the strategy, because now the heavy lifting work is now done by the technology. So
Yeah.
from your experience, you are a CTO,
Mm-hmm.
right, of SAP technology driving, can you please suggest step by step guide that can help this community stay relevant and competitive into this era? How can they position? How can they sit there? What should they learn? And then their strategy mindset, business strategist, technology strategist, AI governance, and etc. So
Sure. Yeah.
please advise, share
Sure.
your insight.
Yeah, I think first and foremost, right? I mean, do not go into the mode, is my recommendation, of thinking that your jobs are going to be taken away by someone, right? I mean, I think while a lot of people talk about it, and we all know that is the common conversation, pretty much everyone ends up having, saying, hey, AI is going to suddenly come in and take away all of your jobs, right? But the point remains is, if you upskill the right way, if you develop the right skills in terms of how can we manage the delivery of required AI solutions, if you bring in the right functional knowledge, you're always going to be augmented by AI to help you do that. Which means, irrespective whether you're a project manager, if you're a project manager, you can actually loop into what we call as a product management skill, because for all these AI products to be built, there is going to be shortage of experienced product managers. And for that, you need to have the right knowledge of how do you get the features, how can you make sure you have the right understanding of how it fits into a persona driven experience, and what functionality do you develop, right? So that is a learning curve where you get yourself trained on AI based courses, you understand how product features work, and get
Mhm.
yourself updated from a product management point of view. There's a difference between project management and a product management, right? Because if you think that
Yeah.
just because you're a project manager, you can become a product manager, it won't work that way, right? Similarly, when you talk about solutions of how do we transform the overall journey from a customer point of view, if you're a developer, people are actually openly saying you don't have to be sitting there writing the code by yourself to prove that you are an actual engineer, right? You should be able to know what tools to use, right? Do you use vibe coding? Do you use Klein? Do you know what LLM models are going to give you the right output? How do you embed them into your code editor? How do you get to write the right prompts, ask the right questions, and get the output what you want? And your skill is still needed to validate what that is doing. Because remember, you do not want to have the code commit, and we all have learned on how a code wiped out the entire database for a particular user. Those are the kind of scenarios we don't want to happen, right? So we have to be also, as a developer, prep ourselves to be able to manage that. And if you're an architect, you can actually use the code to review it, come up with architectural patterns, And the way you can think about it is don't just depend on one LLM model, right? Ask one LLM model, Anthropic, for example, or Claude, and then the output, what you get from there, go on to other models, repeat the same question, ask the other model to review the output of this model, and by the time you get to the other model, ask it to optimize it. Now, you're actually within a matter of 1 hour where you used to do all this work by yourself manually. You're able to do it within minutes and maybe adding few more minutes. You are getting other agents to review, re-optimize, regenerate, and give you a solution which is already suboptimal compared to what you could have manually done, right? So
All
every
right.
persona is going to get changed, and we all know this, right? I mean, this is nothing new.
Yep.
By now, everyone understands it. But I have seen people struggle to say, where do I start, right? So it's important to understand which persona gets impacted how and start adopting these best practices in their career, which we actually are getting recommendations for our practitioners as well, so that globally they can also adopt the same principles.
So a quick follow-up question. So
Mhm.
we talked about a lot of things, RAG, embedding, LLM ops, LLM, different model, etc. I have seen, I mean, what I'm noticing, there are a lot of training institutions like Grad, maybe different other institution, I don't want to name it here. They start teaching and training Python to the project managers, to the product owners. So my question to you, at what level they should immerse themselves?
Mhm. So they have to get Python training no matter what, right? The reason is different reasons. You might not have to code it, but you
Hmm.
should be having enough knowledge to be able to understand what your team is going to give you, right? One of the main concepts I strongly recommend to the project managers is if you have to be having a great team, it's just not enough to say I have a great developer team available with me, right? You should be having enough knowledge yourself to be able to say what to ask for, what do you guide them for. If they are stuck, who do you call for? If you don't know that, you're pretty much completely dependent on your team to tell you the directions, and that's
Hmm.
not going to be fruitful for you.
Correct. Then you are lost. All right. This is great advice. This is great advice. So my last question, in fact, not it's a question, but a lightning conversation. What's the source of your energy? How you keep yourself motivated? So you wrote multiple books. I mean, I was just scanning through your profile. You wrote, I think, I don't know, first book or second book in 2022. You keep writing, right? You are participating into different forums. You wrote, I mean, you revision everything about your patent. And what I learned, I think you play crickets on during every weekends. So Dharma, what's the source of your energy and how do you motivate yourself?
I mean, I'm gonna be honest. Technology is my passion, right? Simple and sweet. Because every time I keep looking for new details, new patterns, new solutions. How can I be different to myself to challenge my own journey, right? I mean, I'm not saying that it's everyone's passion, but one thing's for sure is every time I read an article or LinkedIn, or if I go into Medium, or if I go into IEEE, it's about different scenarios and different use cases, right? Because it's about increasing the breadth is what really matters for me. And when I do the expansion, the breadth, there are going to be certain areas where I kind of tend to go into the depth. So it's about having broad breadth, but also in some areas going to in-depth analysis. And that's where it allows me to say, hey, I see this problem statement, and then I search on it to say, does it really exist today? How does it get addressed? And that's where some of these ideas for patents keep coming up, being in SAP world, right? Because it's being in SAP world, you'll not see many people going in for patents as such, right? I mean, patents are more from typical industry or non-SAP based functionalities, but that's something which has truly challenged me to say, why not? Why can't I patent, right? Why can't I invent? And that's what triggered me to these books, the patents, and the whole of the journey to give back.
All right, this is great. It was really exciting and fantastic to hear your experience, your insight, your industry experience, and etc. So thank you very much for your time, and Dharma, wish you all the best for your patent,
Thanks a
your
lot,
work, and
Madan.
your books.
Thanks a